Fallon is a city of 9,327 people that lies at the intersection of US Route 50 and US Route 95 in central West Nevada. It was first populated during the California Gold Rush. It receives only 128 millimeters or 5 inches of rain each year, and if you head eastwards from Fallon along US 50, you will be greeted by the deserts of Nevada, and if you continued eastwards, it will be followed by the deserts of Nevada, followed by the deserts of Nevada, followed by the deserts of Nevada. Welcome to TwoLambdaPlusBlack. I am Heirua. The deserts of Nevada are vast, and towns within it are few and far between. The next town on US 50 eastward of Fallon is Austin, a tiny town of only 167 people, 177 kilometers to the east. 112 kilometers of desert later lies Eureka, with 414 people. And finally, 125 kilometers east of Eureka lies Ely. Yes, spelled E-L-Y and pronounced Ely. Finally, another city whose population, that is 3,924, has a fourth digit. It is the last town on US 50 before another 102 desolate kilometers to the Utah border. It is here, at the Utah border, that the loneliest road in America, as it is traditionally defined, ends. But Fallon is not actually the west end of the road's conventional definition. That is actually Nevada's state capital of Carson City, a city of 58,639. The segment of US 50 between Carson City and Fallon, however, is substantially less lonely than portions east of Fallon. In the 96 kilometers between Carson City and Fallon lie Dalton, population 15,153, Stagecoach, population 2,022, and Silver Springs, population 5,629, not nearly as impressively unpopulated. Furthermore, this segment is also not as unpopulated as what comes east of the Nevada-Utah border. 133 entire kilometers of no civilization until the 614 people town of Hinckley, before another 10 kilometers to the city of Delta, population 3,622. The Utah desert leg of US 50 does have one notable feature among the sandy, salty monotony. The route brushes by the shores of Sevier Lake, an endorheic lake. Many years ago, before I knew about the lake, I rode past it on a car trip and was convinced it was a mirage until we passed by its shores. In any case, the emptiness of the western Utah segment of US 50 suggests that even though the loneliest road in America is defined as running from Carson City to the Nevada-Utah border, Fallon to Delta is a more appropriate set of endpoints for this moniker. The all-within-Nevada definition was merely set that way by Nevada as marketing towards tourists. The Carson City to border length is 613 kilometers, with 95,275 people living in cities and towns passed through, while the Fallon to Delta length is 660 kilometers, with only 18,068 people living in cities and towns passed through. For comparison, the latter distance is approximately the road distance from Boston to Baltimore and is longer than the north-south span of England or the east-west span of Mindanao. This puts into perspective how lonely the loneliest road in America gets. Between Fallon and Delta, the ceaseless deserts of the Great Basin afford only 4 tiny blips of human civilization. Except for one problem. The loneliest road in America is a lie. Even using the more desolate Fallon to Delta redefinition, the loneliest road in America exhibits a total population of 18,068 people across 660 kilometers, but this pales in comparison to Alaska Route 11. Alaska Route 11, also known as the Dalton Highway, is a 666-kilometer-long road from Livingood, Alaska to Prudhoe Bay, Alaska, also known as Sagavanirktok. And at this point in the video, I would like to point out that when I first learned of the Dalton Highway, its northern terminus was Dead Horse, Alaska, a town that has since been absorbed into Prudhoe Bay. And I am very disappointed that I don't get to report that Alaska Route 11 takes you from a place whose name starts with live to a place whose name starts with dead. The airport that services Prudhoe Bay is still called Dead Horse Airport. Livingood is home to 16 people. Prudhoe Bay is home to 1,310 people. In the entire 666 kilometers between Livingood and Prudhoe Bay, there are only two towns, Coldfoot, home to 34 people, and Wiseman, home to 5. Why does this long highway and this town in its Arctic north end even exist? Prudhoe Bay is base camp for workers on the largest oil field of the United States, and the Dalton Highway exists to service the Trans-Alaska Pipeline, which it runs along. Recently, the Dalton Highway and Prudhoe Bay have also experienced some tourism, so oil technically isn't its only reason for existence anymore. Of worthy note is Gates of the Arctic National Park, which the road passes near. It is a vast wilderness, the least visited of all 63 U.S. national parks. Despite Gates of the Arctic being the second largest U.S. national park by area, within its entire interior, it has no stores, it has no lodging, and it has no roads. It does not abide by the typical American national park standard of pristineness. It has its own. Occasional human visitors, but no hint of human civilization beyond them. You bring your own hiking equipment, you bring your own camping equipment. Some people consider 0 degrees Celsius cold. Some people consider 0 degrees Fahrenheit cold. The entire span of the Dalton Highway is comprised of areas where during winter, even a daily high failing to reach as high as 0 degrees Fahrenheit is normal. And as for the lows, they can dip below minus 40 degrees. What's special about minus 40 degrees? For one thing, it's where Celsius equals Fahrenheit, so I won't have to specify which. But for another, this is just below when mercury freezes at atmospheric pressure. So if you use mercury thermometers, you'll have to swap them out for something else to measure the full range of temperatures anywhere along the Dalton Highway. The epitome of this frigidity, though, is Prospect Creek, which the road passes by, and which has once dipped to minus 62 degrees Celsius, or minus 80 degrees Fahrenheit, the coldest natural temperature ever measured in the entire United States. Many people who don't live in places like northern Alaska might have trouble grasping how cold this is. Most people, though, do know what 40 degrees Celsius or 104 degrees Fahrenheit is like, and most people know what 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit is like. So imagine a temperature further away from freezing than 40 degrees Celsius, but in the downwards direction. At this point, the loneliness of the Dalton Highway, Alaska Route 11, should be extensively evident. Very few humans venture through this road, originally built to service an oil pipeline. It is a 666-kilometer long road, along which merely 39 people live between its endpoints. A vehicle malfunction while traversing this route may well be your doom. To this wilderness, to this Arctic land, to this human void, U.S. Route 50 in Nevada and Utah cannot hold a candle. One last thing. US 50, while not being the loneliest road in America, arguably isn't even the loneliest road in Nevada. And by this, I don't mean just some random unnumbered dirt road that no one takes. I mean that there's even a different US highway that, by at least some reasonable metrics, have less along it than US 50. US 6, which is concurrent with US 50 east of Ely, but is south of US 50 west of Ely, passes through fewer populated places, the only other populated locale it passes through in Nevada being Tonopah, population 2,179. It passes through several completely abandoned ghost towns, though. Maybe that counts for something. As always, thanks to my patrons for funding my educational videos. If you wish to support me as well, head over to patreon.com/heirua. A link to this Patreon can be found in the description, along with some links to places on Google Street View along these highways. And as always, remember to love the night.